out sunken with the shattering. These two vast and trunkless leads for that stone standing in the dirt. Near them with the sand for the half sunken with the shadow from rising. These lies, whose frown, whose wrinkled lip with the sneer for the code for the man. This is the coast sculpting for the passions who really can yet serve the vibe. Stamped through the lifeless. Out sunken with the shattering. These two vast and trunkless leads for that stone standing in the dirt. Near them with the sand for the half sunken with the shadow from rising. These lies, whose frown, whose wrinkled lip with the sneer for the code for the man. This is the coast sculpting for the passions who really can yet serve the vibe. Stamped in the lifeless leads in life. This is the hand for the mocking of them with the heart that they fed. The pedestal with the words and the appearing for the name. Kings of kings and the looking back on the works are like a mighty despair. For the nothing besides remains for the round decay. Colossal for the wreck, the balance with the bear. The lone for the level of stance and the stretching away. This is a far place with the fear for the only cease. This is the understanding of what the traveler meant for the vast trunkless legs of the stone. This is the understanding of the wrinkled lip. This is the ode to that nightingale. This is to the heartache and the drowsy numbness, pains and sense. And though him lock that drunk for the empty something for the opiate for the drain for the 1 minute passing the words has sunk. That ever been envy with a happy life for the happy time. The light wings drive for the trees. This is the place for the draw for the vintage. Cold for the age and the deep for the earth. Tasting for the floor for the country of the green for the provinces of the song. This is the food for the warm for the true. This is the blush for the hypocrites. This is for the bed for the bottles, the ripping of the brims. Purple stain for the mouth that I might drink. For the leaving of the word for the unseen. For the fading away into the forest and dim lights. This is the understanding of what was right. Stung by the faith of the far away. This all for the quite forgetting for which you come along. For the news house, never known for the weariness. The fever, that the fret for the hear of the men sit for the each on the groan. Policy shakes in the few for the this of the lies, gray hairs. Youth for the growth, for the pale, for the spectrum of thin lines. The dying, where we get to think the full of sorrow for the leading the eye, despairs for the beauty, for the cannot keep that lustrous eyes. Or new pine for that beyond the moral. This is the morals, the moral. This is the way for the chariot. This is the parts that used to be viewed as wings. Though the dull brain perplexed as a retard. Only for the deep, for the tender, for the night, for the happily as the queen, for the moon in its own throne. Clustered all around by the starry nights and it's there's no light for the saving of where the heaven is the breeze is blown. Throw that venomous in the gloom for the windy mossy ways. This is the understanding you cannot see the flowers upon my feet. Nor the sit with the incense that hangs above the boughs. The embark with the darkness with the guessy sweet. Wherewith the season for the moth, ever run the glass and the thick place for the fruit for the tree wild. Enough for the violets to cover up the leaves. And this is the mid of May, child for the coming of musk rose. Fully for the dewy wine for the murmurs and the haunt flies in the summer evening. This is the understanding for the reason for the season and darkening. I listen for the many times it's been half in love for the east for the death. Call for the soft names and the muse rhyme. Taken into the air like a quiet breath. And no more for the even seem rich to die. Cease upon that midnight with no pain for the roaring of the fourth. This soul abroad for the suction ecstasy will not sing. For the ears in vain for the higher requiem for becoming. Sighed as an understanding and then little not born for the death of the immortal bird. The hungry generations and tread down. Here for the pouncing night for this is the ancient place of the clown. Perhaps self-shame for the found for the path and throw the sad heart. Sick for the home, still with the tears. Alien as corn for the same off. Half that the magic which you can walk down your dreams and every word like a bell. Fancy, not to cheat so well for this to be deceiving. If you know battles and you're still streaming uphill. Now very deep. Understanding with the song that was sang beyond the genius of the sea. That water that was never formed to align that voice, like the body who the whole body fluttered with the empty sleeps and that is a memory of the motion. Made constant the cry, caused constantly a cry that I was not although we understood. Inhuman in the veritable ocean. This is that place for the season. The season of sea was not a mouse and no more of a sheep. The song in water would not medley sound for even though she sang what she heard. Since what she sang for the other word by word to beat that all the phrases stirred. Grinding water for the grass, we get the wind, but it was she and not the sea that we heard. For it was she with the maker of the song that she sang. The ever hooded for the trichine gesture, see for the merely place by which she walked to sing. Whose spirit is this we sing? Because we knew that the spirit that we saw through knew. We should have access to often who sang. She was the maker of that song. She was that the spirit for the it was only the dark voice of the sea for the rose of the color of the many ways that it was only the outer voice of the sky for the cloud, the sunken core of water wall. However clear, it would have been deep air for the having, speech of air for the summer sound for the repeating of the summer without the end of the sound alone. It was that sweet, sunken, but it was more than that. For the more, the even her voice for the moan, the meaningless and plunging of water with the wind, theatrical distances and bronze, shadows and heat, high horizons, mountains and atmospheres of the sky and sea was the voice that made the sky the cutest of the vanishing. Measured to the hour of the solitude for the single artificial other world for the which she sang. She sang that sea, whatever the self it had became the self. There was her song, she was the maker. She was the then for the we, for the beholding of this writing there alone, for knowing that there was no world for her except with the one she sang. Singing made. Tell her if why did not the singing for the ending to turn her town down. It was the glassy lights. It was the night for what you felt with everything was right, for not to understand what you were speaking for. The mannerism for the suggesting and the mimicking and the pattern for the speech in what you heard, the life and the power for influence on it for the raging order. This is the maker, the rage, the words, the seed for the words, for the fragrance of the portal so dimly stare for the selves and origins. Ghostlier than a dim creation. This is the bolts and keener sounds. This is the understanding of the blessed rage. For the managing, the composure. Whatever you can find the sailing to your Byzantinium. This is the understanding of what you have no country for. The young for the another's arm, for the birds of the trees, for the dying generations at their own song. Marker for the crown of seas. This is the common for the all summer long, whatever's been forgotten for the born. It dies in the sensual music and all neglect, the instruments and unaged intellect. I bet you can find what was the age for the poetry team, for the page or call for the sticking, unless you can find that soul clap. Hands for the singing and louder, you sing for every tatter in the mortal dress. The or the singing for school, but studying monuments in its own magnificence. Therefore I sail by the seas and come to that holy one, that city. This is where the sages stand on God's holy fire, as in the gold mosaic wall, for the coming for the holy fire, for the burn, for the gear, for the grave, for the sinking the masters of the soul, for the consuming away. Sick with the desire to fastening to the dying animal, for that it knows not what it is, for the gathering to the act of sacrifice for the eternity. The bodily form for the natural thing. Creation goldsmith like a hammer gold for the golden enameling, for the keeping a drowsy the emperor awake when you can find the golden boat to sing. The Lord ladies of the bicentennial for the passing of the moon to come. And this is not a sensual sexual. This is the understanding of the emperor. This is the lady to passing of what is it? It was the understanding of you and I. The sailing, the light, the gliding, what we call the beginning, often the end, for what we can make the end of the making a beginning, for the end is where it started from, for the phrase and the sentence and where it came from, for the right, for the not at home, for the taking of a place and support to others, word for the neither different instantiation, for the old the commerce, the old and new for the common word, exact with the vulgarity, the complete consort for the dancing together with poem, the song for this phrase and every sentence at the end for the beginning with the epilogue, but this is what you can find the dialogue for the action stepping into the block of the fire with the sea down the throat for the eligible stone, for this is where we start, we die for the dying, for the scene depart, for then we go with them, with the board for the dead, for the you see them return, for the bringing with them in the moment, for the rose and the moments of the youth, for the true, the tree, the eagle, the duration for the people without the history, redemption of time. History is a pattern for the timeless moments. This is the white light fails with the thunder in the afternoon for the schedule of the chapel. This is the history. This is the understanding of you and your knowledge and the drawing of love for the voice of this is calling the cease. Exploration, the ending for the exploring. Will to be arrived when we started. And know for the place of the first time for the unknown. Remember gate. This is the last of the earth to discover, which was the beginning for the source of the longest river, the voice for the hidden waterfall. Choice, children in an apple tree with the not known, because they not look for the heard, for half heard, for the stillness in between the waves of the two seas. This is the seed for the quick, for the now, for always to the condition, the complete simplicity, for the costing not less of everything. Shall be well, for the manner, for the shall be well, for the tongues, the flame, for the fold into the crown of the fire, for the fire and the rose are one. Quick now, we hurry, for the ascendance and the understanding the anomalies. This is the later half, this is the shall be well. This is the manner for the things that shall be well, for the quote. This is the understanding of what you find and more. This is the ask, the passing of those with the onomatopoeias, and this is the understanding. Let us go through them yellow restless nights, for the rub is back against the window panes, with the smoke that rubs the muzzles of the window. Lick the tongue to the corners of the evening, with the lingering upon the pools to stand the drains. Fall upon and back for the suiting of the foot, for the falling of the chimney, for the slipping of the terrace and made for the sudden leap. Seeing that it was soft in the October night, for the girl once about the house that fell asleep, for the indeed there would be the time for the yellow smoke to slide along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. face for the face that you meet. Find that tenderness from the sweet, elegance of what you can find. Cool without you.
Please tell me why your countenance of your goddess.
Together the realizations and the revelation that come so far with the old age. And the understanding and the knowledge of the idea of the words. Nor the age for the house that dinner to sleep for the dreaming of both. Here I am, that man from the dry line for the back. The reading the board, for the reading the rain, for the human being of the high case, for that ball, for that warm rain, for the need, for the deep, for the soft, for the march, for the head, for the colors of the red and the fleas, the fight, the flies, the fork, in my house, for the decaying house, the front street, squats, for the window sill, for the odor, for the strong inside that estimate, bitter, inside of that wretched patch of appeal. This is the unforsaken. This is the truth for the coughs at night, for the field, for the overhead, for the rocks, the moss, the stonecrop, for the iron, for the nerd. That woman that kept the kitchen to make the tea. That person to find the torn, for the dark room, for the shifting of the candles, and the who turned that hall. The hand for the hall, for the shuttle that weave the wind, the room goes. The old man for the dry house, for the under that windy knob. That's such knowledge that who gives forgiveness for the thinking of how history kind passages contrived. For the caridas, for the issues of this, even the whispering ambitions. God by the vanities. This is the more spring sound. For that you can have no fear. For the springs of the new year, for the environment, thinking that last we have to search, research for the conclusion, reach for it when I stiffen the rented house. This that last and I made that show for the purposely it not be any consultation for the backward devils. I will never meet them on honestly, and it was in there for the heart removing from therefrom, for the loss of the beauty, for the terror of the inquisition, for this has been the passion, why I should need to keep it, since I was blessed with the calculated adulterated for the, this is the place where I can have I lost my sight for the smell, for the hearing, the taste, and the touch, and how should I use it for any closer contact? These for the thousands, the small deliberation, for the protract, for the pro, for the living profit, for this is the chill derailment. This is the excite for the membrane, for this sense has cool, the pungent sauces, the multiply the variety of windows and the mirrors, it the swivel, but that's why I do for this suspend of operations, for the weaver, for the delay. This is for that against the wind, for the windy straits, but this is running on the horn, for the white feathers in the snow. This is the old man driven by the trades in the secret corner, the tenants in the house with thought for the dry rain, for the dry season, for the guiding, for the selling. The idea. Sunken with the shattering. These two vast and trunkless leads for that stone stand in the dirt. Near them with the sand for the half sunken with the shadow from rising. These lies, whose frown, whose wrinkle live with the sneer for the code for the man. This is the code sculpting for the passions the reader can yet survive. Stamped on the lifeless and leads in life. This is the hand for the mocking and then with the heart that they fed. The pedestal with the words and the peering for the name. Kings of kings and the looking back on the works are like a mighty despair for the nothing besides remains for the round decay. Colossal for the wreck, the balance with the bear. The lone for the level of stance and the stretching away. This is a far place for the fear for the only cease. This is the understanding of what the travel that meant for the vast trunkless legs of the stone. This is the understanding of the wrinkled lip. This is the ode to that nightingale. This is to the heartache and the drowsy numbness, pains and sense. And though him lot that drunk for the empty something with the opiate for the drain for the 1 minute passing the words has sunk. That ever did envy with a happy life for the happy of the time. The light wings dry for the trees. This is the place for the draw for the vintage. Cold for the age of the deep for the earth. Tasting for the floor for the country of the green for the provinces of a song. This is the fool for the warm for the true. This is the blush for the hypocrites. This is for the bed for the bottles, the wrinking of the brims. Purple stain for the mouth for the I might drink for the leaving of the world for the unseen for the fading away into the forest and dim lights. This is the understanding of what was right. Stung by the fade for the far away, the soft for the quite forgetting for what you come along for the news has never known for the weariness fever that they fret for the here for the men sit for the each on their own. Policy shakes in the few for the this of the last gray hairs. Youth for the growth of the pale, for the spectrum of thin lies. The dying, where we get to think they're full of sorrow for the leading the eye. Despairs for the beauty, for the cannot keep that lustrous eyes. Or new pine for that beyond the moral. This is the morals, the moral. This is the way for the chariot. This is the parts that used to be of viewless wings. Though for the dull brain, perplexed as a retard. Only for the thee, for the tender of the night, for the happily as a queen, for the moon in its own throne. Clustered all around by the starry nights and the stairs, there's no light for the saving of where the heaven is the breeze is blown. Throw that venomous in the gloom for the windy mossy ways. This is the understanding you cannot see the flowers upon my feet, nor the sit with the incense that hangs above the boughs. Get involved with the darkness with the guessing sweet, wherewith the season with the moth ever run the glass in the thick place for the fruit for the tree wild. Enough for the violets to cover up the leaves, and this is the mid of May. Child for the coming of muscros, fully for the dewy wine, for the murmurs and the haunt flies in the summer evening. This is the understanding for the reason for the season and darkening. I listen for the many times it has been half in love for the east for the death. Call for the soft names in the news rhyme, taken into the air like a quiet breath, and no more for the even seem rich to die. Seized upon that midnight, but no pain for the roaring of the fourth. This soul abroad for the suction ecstasy will not sing, for the ears in vain for the higher requiem for becoming sighed as an understanding, and then it is not born for the death of the immortal bird, the hungry generations and tread down here for the pouncing night, for this is the ancient place of the clown. Perhaps self-shame for the bound for the path and throw the sad heart, sick for the home, still with the tears, alien is corn for the same art. Perhaps that's the magic which you walk down your dreams and every word like a bell. Fancy, not to cheat so well, but this would be deceiving if you know battles and you're still streaming uphill. Now very deep, just fled to that music until you wake or sleep. Sunken with the shadow. These two vast and trunkless legs for that stone stand in the dirt. Near them with the sand for the half sunken with the shadow from rising. These lies, whose frown, whose wrinkle lip with the sneer for the code of the man. This is the coat sculpting with the passions who really can yet survive. Stamped on the lifeless and leads in life. This is the hand for the mocking and then with the heart that they fed. The pedestal with the words and the parent for the name. Kings of kings and the looking back on the works are like a mighty of despair. For the nothing besides remains with the round decay. Colossal for the wreck, the balance with the bear. The lone for the level of sands and the stretching away. This is a far place with the fear for the only cease. This is the understanding of what the trap.
Let us go through them yellow restless nights with the brothers back against the window panes with the smoke that rubbed the muzzles of the window. Lick the tongue to the corners of the evening with the lingering upon the pools to stand the drains. Fall upon and back for the suiting of the foot, for the falling of the chimney, for the slipping of the terrace and made for the sudden leap. Seeing that it was soft in the October night for the girl once about the house that fell asleep, for the indeed there would be the time for the yellow smoke to slide along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. There would be the time to prepare the face for the face that you meet for. Find that tenderness for the sweet, elegance for what you can find, the corner that evening. Together the realizations, the revelations that come so far with the old age, and the understanding of the knowledge, the idea, the order, the key. The youth, nor the age for the house, that dinner, the sleep, for the dreaming of both. Here I am, that man for the dry mind, for the bet, the reading the boy to the boy, for the reading the rain, for the it was needed, the high case, for that fall, for that one rain, for the need, for the deep, for the soft, for the march, for the head, for the colors of the bed, and the fleas, the fight, the flies, the forth, the my house.
You were led, you were the idea, you were the key, you were the understanding with the song that was sang beyond the genius of the sea. That water that was never formed to the mind, that voice, like the body who the whole body fluttering for the empty sleeves, and that is a mimic of the motion. Made constant the cry, caused constantly a cry that I was not, although we understood, inhuman in the veritable ocean. This is that place with the season sea was not a mass and no more was she. The song and water would not medley sound for the, even though she sang what she heard. Since what she sang for the other word by word to be that all the phrases stir. Grinding water for the grasping of the wind, but it was she and not the sea that we heard. For it was she with the maker of the song that she sang. The ever hooded for the track.
You were led, you were the idea, you were the key, you were the understanding with the song that was sang beyond the genius of the sea. That water that was never formed to the mind, that voice, like the body who the whole body fluttering for the empty sleeves, and that is a mimic of the motion. Made constant the cry, caused constantly a cry that I was not, although we understood, inhuman in the veritable ocean. This is that place with the season sea was not a mass and no more was she. The song and water would not medley sound for the, even though she sang what she heard. Since what she sang for the other word by word to be that all the phrases stir. Grinding water for the grasping of the wind, but it was she and not the sea that we heard. For it was she with the maker of the song that she sang. The ever hooded for the tricholion gesture, see for the merely place by which she walked to sing. Whose spirit is this we sit? Because we knew that the spirit that we softly knew, we should ask us to often who sang. She was the maker of that song. She was that the spirit, for it was only the dark voice of the sea, for the rose of the color of the many ways, that it was only the outer voice of the sky, for the cloud, the sunken core of water wall. However clear, it would have been deep air for the having, speech of air for the summer sound, for the repeating in the summer without the end and the sound alone. It was that sweet, sunken, but it was more than that, for the more that even her voice for the moan, the meaningless and plunging of water with the wind, theatrical distances and bronze, shadows and heat, high horizons, mountains and atmospheres of the sky, and sea was the voice that made the sky the cutest that is vanishing, measured to the hour of the solitude for the single, artificial other world for the which she sang that sea, whatever the self it had, became the self, there was her song, she was the maker. She was the then for the we, for the beholding of this writing there alone, for knowing that there was no world for her, except with the one she sang. Singing made, tell her, if why did not the singing for the ending to turning her town down. It was the glassy lights, it was the night for what we felt with everything was right, for not to understand what you were speaking for. The mannerism for the suggesting and the mimicking and the pattern for the speech in what you heard, the life, the powerful influence on it for the raging order. This is the maker of the raging words, of the seat for the words, for the fragrance of the portal so dimly stare for the cells of origins. Ghostlier than a democration, this is the voice of keener sounds, this is the understanding of the blessed rage. For the managing, the composure, whatever you can find is sailing through your bicentennium. This is the understanding of what you have no country for. The young for their another's arm, for the birds of the trees, for the dying generations of their own song. Marker for the crown of seas, and this is the common for the all summer long, whatever's been forgotten for the born. It dies in the sensual music and all neglect, the instruments and unaging intellect. I bet you can find what was the age for the poetry train, for the page or call, for the sticking unless you can find that soul clap. Ants for the singing and louder, you sing for every tatter in the mortal dress. Door the singing for school, but studying monuments in its own magnificence. Therefore I sail by the seas and come to that holy one, that city. This is where the sages stand on God's holy fire. As in the gold mosaic wall, for the coming for the holy fire, for the perm, for the gear, for the grave, for the sinking the masters of the soul, for the consuming away. Sick with the desire to fastening to the dying animal, for that it knows not what it is, for the gathering to the acts of sacrifice for the eternity. The bodily form for the natural thing. Discretion goldsmith like a hammer gold for the golden amulet for the keeping a drowsy the emperor awake when you can find a golden boat to sing. Lord, ladies to the bicentennial for the passing of the moon to come. And this is not a sensual sexual, this is the understanding of the emperor, this is the lady to passing of what is it? It was the understanding of you and I. The sailing, the light, the gliding, what we call the beginning off to the end, for what we can make the end of it, making a beginning for the end is where it started from, for the phrase and the sentence and where it came from, for the right, for the night at home, for the taking of a place and support to others, word for the neither different. Instantiation for the old commerce, the old and new for the common word. Exact with the vulgarity, the complete consort for the dancing together ring poem. The song for the phrase and every sentence at the end for the beginning with the epilogue. But this is to what you can find the dialogue for the action stepping into the block of the fire with the sea down the throat for the eligible stone. For this is the where we start. We die for the dime, for the scene depart, for then we go with them, with the board for the dead, for the death you see them return, for the bringing with them in the moment, for the rose and the moments of the youth, for the true, the tree, the equal, the duration for the people without the history, for redemption of time. History is a pattern for the timeless moments. This is the white, the light fails with the thunder in the afternoon for the schedule of the chapel. This is the history. This is the understanding of you and your knowledge and the drawing of love for the voices. This is calling the seas. Exploration, the ending for the exploring. Will to be arrived when we started. And know for the place of the first time for the unknown. Remember gate. This is the last, the earth to discover, which was the beginning for the source of the longest river, the voice for the hidden waterfall. Choice, children in an apple tree, but they're not known because they not look for the heard, for half heard for the stillness in between the waves of the two seas. This is the sea for the quick, for the nouns, but always for the condition, the complete simplicity for the costing, not less of everything. Shall be well for the manner, for the shall be well for the tongues, for the flame, for the folding to the crown of the fire, for the fire and the rose are one. Quick now, we hurry for the ascendance and the understanding of the anomalies. This is the later half. This is the shall be well. This is the manner for the things that shall be well for the quote. This is the understanding of what you find and more. This is the ask, the passing of those with the onomatopoeias, and this is the understanding.
Wearing a smock, I clock in, I clock
Constantly singing them down, constantly singing them down blues, and not many people know that. Oh man, I got a splitting headache, and my heart is broken up into 1,000 tiny little microscopic pieces. I got a head full of headaches, so heart that's full of woes. So I'm constantly singing them down blues, and not many people know. That leaves me with a twisted view of the whole wide world as I know it, and I guess I got no choice but to be a poet. Now in my natural habitat, I gravitate towards having that, and I elevate on wearing black, and I'll never get caught in your rabbit trap. From Yellowstone to Venezuela, Nigeria down to Australia, something I learned that I got to tell you. It's a whole lot of us saying rap too. Now could have been your doctor or your lawyer, or come to your house and clean up for you. Self-destruction will destroy you if you got somebody that's looking out for you. Men are murdered, women raped, people getting beat on videotape, and people elsewhere trying to escape. Just to come to America to lick the plate. Helicopters scope the land. Hell is here, so I hope you stand. Hip-hop culture is African, and rappers like me gon' rule the earth. With a head full of headaches, so heart that's full of woes. I'm constantly singing them down home blues, and not many people's know. That leaves me with a twisted view of the whole wide world as I know it, and I guess I got no choice but to be a poet. Now every day I manifest and I generate and smoke cannabis, and I penetrate and I innovate and I demonstrate from Los Angeles, from Amsterdam to the northern boat, Panama, Spain to Atlanta, Georgia. Something I learned that I haven't told you. Brothers like me don't live too long. Now I know you know it ain't who you know, but do you know you? See, cause you can go just like any Joe, and that's for sure true. So if you straighten your nails, the snake's in the barrel and the serpent is under the rainbow, and your head over heels instead of the reels, and you're bound to be tamed. Cause brothers are singing and dancing and rapping like they was a vaudeville act, but knowledge is rough and you gotta know self and you gotta know God's still black. Cause every so often I sit and I wonder why I even trip at all. Cause half are down when I get down, the other half wanna see me fall. Waiting around all heaven bound, and you seen that your L7's round, and when the sky falls to the ground, and you found that the only way up is down. Don't give me no additives, no sedatives, I